You've heard the stories, the conspiracies. For centuries, people have been absolutely fascinated by the Freemasons. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of their most enduring secrets. I mean, it's the big question, isn't it? If you're a secret society, how do you actually keep your secrets? Especially when you're passing down these really elaborate rituals from one generation to the next. You'd think the answer would be locked away in some vault, right? Well, what if I told you it was actually hiding in plain sight, etched into stone for anyone to see? Okay, so look at this. You've probably seen symbols like these before, even if you didn't realize it. For literally hundreds of years, these weird geometric shapes have popped up everywhere. On old Masonic documents, carved into the walls of their buildings, and you'll even find them on gravestones. And you might just think, oh, that's just some strange decoration. But no, this is a message. That's right. These aren't just symbols. They're the key to a cipher. It's basically a secret language, designed to keep knowledge hidden from outsiders, but totally clear to anyone who knows the secret. So this thing has a name. It's called the Pigpen cipher, and Masons have been using it since way back in the 1700s. It was a really simple, straightforward way for them to write down their private rituals without just anyone being able to read them. And look, the point wasn't to create some kind of super spy, unbreakable code. It was more about, having a private conversation in a world that was becoming more and more public. But here's the thing. To really get why they even needed this cipher, you've got to look at the kinds of books it was used in. And believe it or not, this is where it all gets kind of confusing, even for the Masons themselves. Check out this quote from a Masonic forum. It's perfect. This guy, a Mason, is asking about code books. Simple enough, right? But in his state, Tennessee, a code book is just the rule book, the laws. But in Texas, the term code book means something secret, something entirely different. It just goes to show you how wild the differences can be from one Masonic jurisdiction to the next. So you can basically break down Masonic books into two main types. First, you have what's called a monitor. Think of this as the public-friendly version, kind of like Cliff's Notes. It'll explain some symbols, have some lectures, but all the real secrets, the secret words, the grips, yeah, all of that is taken out. Then you have the cipher book. Now that is the secret script. It's the real deal, all written in code. And get this, a lot of the time they weren't even officially approved. And to make things even more confusing for any outsiders, they'd publish these cipher books with the most ridiculous, misleading titles you can imagine. Seriously, picture trying to find a secret Masonic ritual text, and it's disguised as something like Rural Conversations of the Merry Midshipman. I love that. It's not just about being secure. It's about building that mystique, with a little bit of a wink. Okay, so we know why these secret books were a thing, but how does the cipher actually work? Let's dive in and decode this thing. You're going to see it's surprisingly simple. It's actually a pretty elegant system. All you do is draw two tic-tac-toe boards and two big X's. Then you just fill them up with the letters of the alphabet, 2 letters per section. And to write a letter, you just draw the shape of the little box that it's sitting in. If it's the second letter in that box, you just add a little dot. And that's it. I'm not kidding. It's so simple you could learn how to write in this supposedly secret code in like 5 minutes. And that brings up a really good question, right? Because at the end of the day, this is just a simple substitution cipher. Anyone who knows even a little bit about code breaking could crack this pretty easily. All you'd have to do is look for the symbol that shows up the most and assume it's the letter E. So if it's that easy to break, why bother using it at all? What was the real point? Well, the answer has nothing to do with spies or national security. It's actually all about a big internal debate inside Freemasonry itself. It was this classic conflict, really, between ancient tradition on one side and modern convenience on the other. See, for the longest time, the only way Masonic rituals were passed on was mouth to ear. One brother would teach the next. It was a sacred trust, and the golden rule was you never write the secrets down. But, life got busier, things sped up, and members started wanting a shortcut. And that's what these cipher books became, a handy but pretty controversial study guide for the modern Mason. And that's exactly the risk you run when you start using these unofficial books. This quote from a Texas Mason just nails it. There's this running joke that their popular, unapproved cipher book has 6 errors in it. But no one, not even the guys in charge, can agree on where those 6 errors actually are. It's kind of funny, but it also shows the real problem with relying on a piece of paper instead of that tried-and-true oral tradition. So let's be clear. The Pigpen cipher was never meant to be Fort Knox. Its real job was much more personal. It was just an aid to the memory, a way for a Mason to study his parts for a ritual, to practice without actually writing down the secrets in plain English and, breaking his oath. It's about personal discretion, not some high-level espionage.
Okay, and this is where it all comes together. We've talked about these ciphers in books, but the most fascinating place they appear, well, it's hidden right there in plain sight, on the walls of the Masonic Lodge.
What you're looking at here is called a third-degree tracing board. It's basically a big visual aid, a poster full of symbols used to teach the lessons of the Master Mason degree. You see all this stuff, the coffin, the acacia branch, all the tools, but now I want you to look really closely around the border. See those familiar shapes? Yep, the Pigpen cipher is right there. So if you just try to translate those symbols directly, you get, well, gibberish. TCHBAL 3000MB. What is that? It doesn't mean anything. But that's because the person who designed this put in one last really clever little trick. Here's the secret. The symbols are drawn as a mirror image. You have to mentally flip them to read them correctly, like you're looking at them in a mirror. It's this one final subtle layer of security, a little test to see who's really paying attention. And once you flip them, boom, the biggest secrets of the Master Mason degree are spelled right out. These aren't random letters, they're initials. They stand for the password for this degree, for the legendary architect of the temple, Hiram Abiff, for the Masonic year he was said to have died, and for the big one, the substituted secret word that a Master Mason receives. It's just brilliant, right? Hiding the most important stuff literally right in front of your nose. So that leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. Is a cipher like this really just about hiding information, or is the cipher itself a symbol? Maybe the act of hiding something in plain sight is the real lesson here, a symbol of that journey from ignorance to knowledge, a line between what's easily seen and what you have to work to discover. Makes you think, doesn't it?